Hello everyone, welcome to the final episode of Jake Gyllenhaal's poster from the movie The Enemy. This has been a really fun project, and I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. It's been a really fab road. But now we come to the last part, which is essentially us taking care of the beard and the facial features and the skin tone, etc, etc. So this, like all my other projects, is a free commission, and this one is for a lovely chap over on Instagram. And his channel is called Every Shot a Painting. He essentially picks out really nice film stills from popular movies, and if you are looking into decorating your wall with some lovely film art, then why not give his channel a checking out. You may well be inspired. So yes, this is essentially a gift for him because he requested it. And this is how my channel works. You request things off me and I will do my best to fit it in. Not every request will be granted. There's only a limited time of which I can do these things. But I do like to give myself a challenge here and there. So if you fancy giving me a try, subscribe and post your request, and the chances are that I will probably pick yours at some point very soon. So we are just charting in his beard here, and the first stage to recreating an effective looking beard, I'm going through and doing a layer of, I don't know really what the term is called, but it's drawing strands of hair at random angles. I'm trying to get a sense of organic hair flow, short hair flow. I don't want it looking uniform because that's not how hair works. So the stage at the moment is me just making sure that I've got all the boundaries right. And now I'm going to just go in and fill in this first layer. So as you can see here, I am literally doing these sort of slightly arched strokes, but they're random. The direction is random. There's a method. I'm always mindful of how the flow of the hair, being that it is a beard, is portrayed. After this layer, there will be another pass which will deal with the density and the thickness, etc, etc. So it's a fairly slow process. This is speeded up twice. I found that I am better able to explain things in a half-hour episode than an hour-long episode, which is what was happening before. So it's been a fun process. The Cityscape, I'm really not sort of overly happy with. I do kind of think that I might have bodged it a little bit. But for my first try, I'm not going to beat myself up too much. Besides all of that, it's you know, it's part of the complete picture, isn't it? So by the time it's done, it will kind of sort of blend in. So with this technique that I'm doing with the hair, you can see the effectiveness of it straight away. I know that this big white gap there is where the beard will be fairly dense, so I don't really need to worry about having any skin underneath. Although I do think I sort of add it later on anyway. When I go to do the deeper sort of skin shade around the edges. Hair is one of those things that I love to experiment with. I'm learning the process as I go, and I think each time that I tackle a hair situation, it gets better each time. I'm a stubborn git, you see. I won't allow anyone to teach me. I'm completely self-taught. I was always told that I could sketch, and I never, you know, really believed anyone just because I thought they were being kind, you know. So my, you know, this was in the early days, by the way, and you know, when I hit my teen years, I became, you know, really keen on sort of computer graphics and stuff, because back then, you know, it was all starting out, and I had sort of cut my teeth on, you know, things like Microsoft Paint. I think the first graphical thing I ever did in my life was when I was about 14 or 15, sitting at the school computer with Microsoft Paint. I had a pack of fags on me, or I think my friend had a pack. I don't think I was actually buying fags that early. But the first thing I did was the Benson and Hedges logo, and I replicated that pixel by pixel. Painstaking that was. I think at college then, you know, I moved on to sort of other bits of software called, like, you know, Corel Draw, and, you know, I think, you know, the early iterations of Photoshop and stuff. And, you know, the like things like 3ds Max. I was always very fascinated with that whole side of it. And if you haven't seen the video already, there's a video on my channel about how I've built a 3D gallery with all my work. And I've used the Unreal Engine 5 early access software, and I absolutely love it. There is so much to learn, but I think what I've done with the gallery is more than suitable. I'm still sort of tweaking bits here and there, and I'm hoping that I can sort of expand it all out to be an interactive experience that other people can, you know, get their hands on. But anyway, yeah, so it wasn't really until 2014, fairly recently, that I discovered my passion for drawing again. And I think I was in a library, really down in the dumps at one point. I decided to check out a library to see if there was anything interesting to... I was after a graphic novel or something. I really fancied reading a graphic novel, so I was in there seeing what they had, and I came across one called Kingdom Come, and this was a big chunky thing, not nearly as thick as things like, you know, Watchmen, but it was fairly sizable book. So I took it home and I read through it, and it blew me away. And there was a specific art piece, I think it was at the start of chapter 3 or 4, and it's Superman coming out of some red mist, and the red mist was lingering on him as he was coming through, and it was just such a beautiful piece by a chap called Alex Ross. And it was him and his work that turned me round. I grabbed a sheet of paper and a pencil and just went for it. And the rest is history, as they say. And 7 odd years later, here I am. And I've spent those 7 years, a lot of those 7 years, doing sketches. Most of which is in my 3D gallery. There is stuff that I've done for clients which isn't on there at their request, or I don't have a copy of the original. There were some that I didn't scan and just sort of gave away. So I don't do that anymore. Everything that I do is now scanned and recorded, just because I lament at the fact that I didn't do that with those ones that slipped through. So yeah, and I feel like it's my calling. I feel like I was born to do this sort of thing, and I feel at peace when I'm doing it. It comes naturally. It's like a river, flowing through to the pencil. I've done all of this enough to know that I shouldn't be scared. And whilst sometimes you can't avoid it, if there's you have a belief within you that that you can do this, and whenever I'm picking out a project, I'm always picking something that is going to be a bit of a challenge for me, because that's how I learn, and that's how I've gotten this far in the first place, by doing that. So his beard is mostly done. Doesn't look too bad. So now I'm just plotting in some of the basics of the nose and the bridge of the nose, the eye there, here, and the skin folds underneath the eye and above, the eyebrows. I purposefully didn't go into any detail in the previous episode with the eye, or getting the skin tone shade anywhere close, because I didn't really know how I wanted to approach it. Okay, I'm plotting in the eyebrows now. This is always really sort of like a nervous moment for me, believe it or not. It's with the eyebrows. I'm always concerned that I'm going to get eyebrows monumentally wrong, and I actually became a little bit concerned that this wasn't going to end up looking like Jake Gyllenhaal. there's always these senses that sort of creep up on you, whether you want them to or not, whether you're disciplined. They always sort of happen, and it's our ability to be able to go, no, it's fine. You just kick out that thought and say, no, it's going to be okay. It's a little battle within you. And you're forcing these things out. It's like, no, it's going to work. And it is a lot to do with self-belief. I'm noticing straight away that something's not quite right about the eye. So I'm just sort of double checking. Yeah, I think it's the lower. It comes up a bit higher. It's not so. Yeah. That's it. That's the one. It can be quite tricky when you're working from a certain angle with your hand. Particularly when there's a camera right in the way of where your head would normally like to be. Okay, so now I know the boundaries of the eye, so we're going all the way in. I'm going to be brutally honest here. I normally do skin. I take my time with skin a lot more than what I'm doing now. I'm very conscious about getting all of this done within a reasonable amount of time, and I know that I've wasted a lot of time already these past sort of 2-3 months. And yeah, so I've got a lot of work to do. So that's not to say that I'm, doing a rush job on this. It's just that I'm so concerned about getting it done right that I'm not so conscious about the large areas of skin. And usually what happens when I'm done with a sketch is I scan it in, and the scan turns out slightly different to how the original looks. It's not as vibrant, it's not as vivid. It tends to be quite harsh with its color capturing and stuff. So when you bring it into Photoshop for treatment, it exposes a lot of issues that I thought I covered. So either I need to get a better scanner, or I need to do a better job. Oh dear. Okay, so we've got our deeper skin tone here, and we are cracking on with all of that now. The next stage after this is going to be with a layer of brown, deep brown here and there, and then some more black. And then of course the eye itself. So I'm building up various skin tonal shades here, based on the folds of the skin, the curvature, with respect to the lighting, making sure that I've got these subtle areas of the nostrils there as well. Skin is never really just sort of a range of beiges and pinks. You'll be surprised how many pigments will be in there. And the way that skin actually works, being that it is very rigid and scaly almost. If you look closely at your own hand, for instance, you'll see what I mean. All these tiny minute folds and lines, and so it is a question of trying to sort of replicate that in a simple way, just like the cityscape where you're having to simplify details. It's not such an easy task, and lots of artists have different approaches. Some will do it in a very sort of abstract manner. Some will try to do it in a very realistic way, like me. Someone the other day asked me what art is, and for me, art is an expression of someone's freedom. It's a very freeing process, and I think, well, certainly for me, it's expressing something, and I think that tends to be different things each time. But it is a definite expression of emotion and what have you. I mean, every time I do a sketch, I'm tearing off a piece of myself because of the amount of emotional weight behind my desire to get this done in a fairly acceptable way, so that it does come out looking acceptable and hopefully impressive. But my scale of what is good and what isn't good is different than the viewer or the recipient. And I tend to be very hard on myself. I don't like to fail, and I think that's primarily a driving force for me. Most of the things that I've tackled in my life have been a failure. So I'm about 42, and I'm sick and tired of failing at things. So this is, my 7th year, coming up to my 8th year of doing art like this, realistic art. And I decided to open a YouTube channel initially to just showcase it, and then it became this idea of me just doing art for people. People just sort of, they subscribe and they request, and then I'll do it for them. I'll send them the original if they want it, free of charge, and that's it, really. I feel like I need to give back. I've suffered a lot of trauma in my life, and I've discovered that the one constant is how good I feel when I do art for people that would really appreciate it. Appreciate it for what it is. And that makes me feel better, So we're now just concerning ourselves with these slight little details. I'm finishing off the eyebrow there, making sure it's okay. Yeah. Alright, not bad. Bringing out our dark brown pencil now, so this is yet another variant that I'm bringing in. Adding in some subtle blemishes here and there. Okay, we're getting close, man. Getting very, very close. So I really hope you've enjoyed this series. It's been emotional. And we are going to be working on Harlequin next. But not before I sign off on this particular project. So now I'm being very conscious about where I'm going here, because I do want it to be fairly accurate now. I mentioned that I am trying to marry the real with the surreal, and I think this is probably a really, really good example of that as a whole. Being that there's a cityscape in his mind, almost acting like a crown. Now, bear in mind I haven't seen the movie, and I've now added it to my list of things to watch. But, yes, it sounds like a very intriguing film. But I can be really, really picky with movies, man, like you would not believe. Like, every movie gets a half-hour period. If something hasn't gripped me, or if I'm not gripped half an hour in, that's it, mate, forget it. I mean, I may give it a go, like in the case of Army of the Dead. Literally one of the worst movies I have ever seen in my whole life. It wasn't just plot hole after plot hole, it was one massive plot hole. It didn't work, and I'm surprised that it was allowed to go through, to be honest. Just quickly as a side note, I have no idea whether Jake's eyes are green. They looked green from the picture, but hey ho if I've got that wrong. Never mind. But yes, Army of the Dead is terrible. If you haven't seen it and you're thinking of seeing it, please don't. Because it's just full of, as if they'd fucking do that. As if that would happen. It's like, oh, come on. There's only so much I can suspend my disbelief. It's fragile enough as it is, for fuck's sake. But anyway, I promised myself I wouldn't rant about anything in this episode. So there we are, you see, pretty much at the end now. And as I've mentioned before, I hope you've enjoyed this series. Keep an eye out for the next series of Harley Quinn. That's literally around the corner. Just starting out the preparations for that now. And look out for the speeded up version of this feature. That will be... It's on the way now, probably a day or two at the most. So look out for that. That will be awesome-o as well. And yeah, so I hope you've enjoyed it. Keep an eye out for the next work. And until then, I will see you later. Stay safe. Be well. Speak soon.